Imagine checking your bank account and seeing the exact same number you saw last year. You have $10,000. Nothing has been stolen. Nobody hacked your account. The number hasn't gone down. So you assume your money is safe. But there is a problem you cannot see on the screen. That same $10,000 may not be able to buy as much as it once did. Your money can stay exactly the same, while your purchasing power quietly becomes smaller. And this is one of the most important financial realities that people understand too late. We spend so much time asking, how much money do I have, that we forget to ask the more important question, how much can my money actually buy? Because a number in your bank account is not the same thing as wealth. Wealth is what that money can provide you with over time. Imagine going back 10 years and walking into a store with the amount of money you have today. You would probably notice that many things cost more now. Food, housing, services, education, travel, technology, healthcare, and countless everyday expenses can change in price over time. This is inflation, and inflation doesn't feel dramatic when you're experiencing it slowly. That's what makes it so dangerous. If someone takes $1,000 from your bank account, you notice immediately. If your money gradually loses purchasing power over many years, there may be no single moment when you realize what's happening. Nobody sends you a notification saying, your money just became weaker. You simply notice that the same paycheck doesn't seem to stretch as far. And this is why leaving all of your long-term wealth sitting in cash can create a hidden problem. Cash is incredibly useful. You need it for emergencies, bills, short-term goals, and financial stability. But cash is designed primarily for stability and liquidity, not necessarily for growing your purchasing power over decades. If prices rise faster than the return you earn on your savings, your money may grow in numbers while losing ground in real terms. Think about a simple example. Imagine you have $10,000 and your savings earn 2% in a year. Your account might grow to around $10,200 before taxes and fees. That sounds like progress, but if the cost of the things you need rises by more than 2% during the same period, your purchasing power may still have fallen. You have more dollars, but those dollars may buy less. This is why the difference between nominal money and real purchasing power matters. Nominal means the number you see. Real means what that number can actually buy. And once you understand that, you start looking at your savings differently. You stop asking only, is my money growing? And start asking, is my money keeping up with the cost of living and my long-term goals? Now here's where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Most people are taught to save money, and saving is absolutely important. But very few people are taught that saving alone may not be enough for long-term wealth building. You need an emergency fund. You need cash available for unexpected expenses. You need money for goals that are coming soon. But money you won't need for many years may need a different strategy. Historically, productive assets, such as businesses, stocks, and real estate, have been used by investors as ways to potentially grow wealth over long periods. Although every investment carries risk and can lose value, the point isn't that one asset is guaranteed to beat inflation. Nothing is guaranteed. The point is that long-term wealth often requires owning productive assets rather than relying entirely on idle cash. Think about owning a small piece of a business. If the business grows, produces profits, and becomes more valuable over time, your ownership may benefit. You're not simply holding pieces of paper. You're participating in an economic activity that can create products, services, jobs, and profits. That's fundamentally different from keeping all of your long-term wealth in cash. But there's another problem. People often discover inflation only when their lifestyle starts becoming painful. They notice that their grocery bill is higher, their rent is higher, their insurance costs more, their favorite restaurant costs more. Then they blame themselves for spending too much. Sometimes spending habits are the problem, but sometimes the entire price environment has changed. This distinction matters. You can become more disciplined with spending and still experience inflation. That's why the goal isn't simply to cut every expense forever. You need to understand the difference between controlling your spending and ignoring the changing value of money. Imagine someone who earns $3,000 a month and spends $2,900. They may already feel like they are being careful, but if the cost of essential goods keeps rising, that $100 monthly margin can disappear. Eventually, they may need to earn more simply to maintain the same standard of living. This is why increasing your earning power is another form of protection. Your income is not fixed forever. You can develop skills, improve your career, build a business, negotiate better compensation, or create additional sources of income. The stronger your ability to generate income, the more flexibility you have when the cost of living changes. And this is something people often overlook. Your most valuable financial asset may not be your bank account. It may be your ability to earn. Think about a young person with very little savings, but a valuable skill that is in demand. Their financial foundation may still need work, but they have something powerful: future earning potential. Now, think about someone with a large amount of cash, but no plan, no skills they can monetize, and no strategy for long-term growth. The second person may look wealthier today, but their future purchasing power may not be as protected as it appears. This is why personal finance is not just about accumulating money. It's about building a system that can survive time. And time is where inflation becomes especially powerful. Losing a small amount of purchasing power over 1 year may not feel important, but over 20 or 30 years, the effect can become much larger. That's why retirement planning is not simply about asking how many dollars you'll have. You need to think about what those dollars will be worth when you actually need them. Imagine saving for 30 years and finally reaching your retirement goal, only to discover that your cost of living is much higher than you expected. The number in your account might look impressive, but the lifestyle it supports is what matters. This is why long-term financial planning has to account for inflation. And here's something else that can quietly hurt you: lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, your spending often increases too. You get a raise and think you can finally afford more. You move into a bigger home. You upgrade your car. You eat out more. You travel more. You subscribe to more services. None of these things are automatically bad. But if every increase in income gets absorbed by an increase in spending, you're not building much protection against rising prices. Your lifestyle simply becomes more expensive. So when your income rises, consider allowing your savings and investments to rise too. Give yourself permission to enjoy some of the increase, but don't let every extra dollar become a permanent obligation. Because once a higher lifestyle becomes normal, reducing it can feel like losing something. That's lifestyle inflation's hidden psychological trap. It doesn't feel like you're spending more. It feels like you're simply living normally. And then you wonder why a salary that once seemed huge suddenly feels ordinary. Your expenses grew quietly. Your expectations grew with them. And your definition of enough moved further away. This connects to another important truth. You can never out-earn unlimited lifestyle inflation. If you earn $4,000 and spend $4,000, you're financially fragile. If you earn $10,000 and eventually spend $10,000, you're still financially fragile. The numbers are bigger, but the problem is the same. Wealth requires a gap between income and spending. That gap is where saving, investing, and financial resilience come from. And inflation makes that gap even more important, because the future cost of your goals may be higher than today's cost. Now let's talk about something people often misunderstand. Inflation does not mean you should panic and rush into investments. When people hear that cash is losing purchasing power, they sometimes jump into whatever asset is currently popular: cryptocurrency, speculative stocks, real estate they don't understand, high-risk businesses, anything that promises protection from inflation. That's not a solution. That's another risk. The fact that cash can lose purchasing power doesn't mean every risky investment is a good alternative. You still need to understand what you're buying. You still need diversification. You still need to consider your time horizon. You still need to protect money you may need soon. You don't solve one financial problem by creating another. The goal is balance. Keep enough liquid money for your short-term needs and emergencies. Then consider appropriate long-term investments for money you can leave alone for years, based on your goals and risk tolerance. The exact strategy depends on your circumstances, but the principle is universal. Different money has different jobs. Your emergency fund shouldn't behave like your retirement portfolio. Your rent money shouldn't be invested like long-term capital. Your long-term wealth shouldn't necessarily sit entirely in cash. Once you start thinking this way, your financial life becomes much clearer. You stop treating all money as one giant pile. You start assigning purpose. Some money protects you. Some money pays for life. Some money builds future wealth. And some money can be used to enjoy the present. That's a healthier relationship with money than simply trying to save as much cash as possible. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes being financially conservative can still expose you to risk. People often think risk means losing money in the stock market. But there is another risk: losing purchasing power over decades because your money never grows enough to keep up with the world around you. Risk isn't only volatility. Risk is also failing to reach your future goals. If your retirement savings don't keep up with your future expenses, that's a risk. If your emergency fund is too small, that's a risk. If you have too much debt, that's a risk. If your income depends entirely on one fragile source, that's a risk. Financial maturity means looking at the entire picture instead of fearing one type of risk.